a really nice one. Hey, my scale's in my bag in the back pocket. Oh, no, 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 no. No, no, no.
You justify indifference.
Alright folks, welcome back to WB Dynamite Fishing. Here we are, we're sitting with JK Bass Slayer. This is his last little while here in Fort Knox, so we're doing a little tackle talk with him. This has been a great fishing time with him. We've been fishing with him for the past few years. Haven't really made any videos up until the latest. Really didn't afford that much. Anyways, rambling on. This week we've been doing a lot of trail fishing. We've been going off and walking a lot of places. We haven't really been on the boat as much. The big key thing to these fishing trips has been a Ned Rig. A lot of people don't fish them because the fact that they catch smaller fish, and that's true on bigger lakes. If you're having a tough time, I've talked about it before, we can take and catch smaller fish, target where these fish are coming from and figure out what's going on with them. But in a creek, these are absolute go-tos, and it's been an amazing way to fish. So we're gonna go to JK Bass Slayer for our bait of the week breakdown.
All right, guys, so when you're talking about Ned Rigs, there's a lot of different options in terms of your styles of baits. So you start with your standard finesse TRD, and this is the peanut butter and jelly color, which is one of our favorites. And it's just a standard little worm, right? Like somebody cut down a Cinco and you got 4 inches of it left. And they make other options of it. Z-Man does. You got your TRD Crawl Z, which is more of a crawl style bait, and then recently, Z-Man started it and they started making a bunch of money. So the other baits companies like Missile, they came out with their own version of it. This is the Missile Ned Bomb, and theirs is a little different. It's got a little paddled tail on it. And then Yum makes their own version of it. Strike King makes their own version. Everybody makes their own version of it now, but obviously we prefer the Z-Man version. Robo Worm, forgot to mention them. They make a version of it. And then when it comes to the hooks, for me and for WB Dynamite Bass, and I'm sure the Z-Man brand of hooks is the only way to go. Got a pack of them right here in the 1/10 ounce. That's my favorite size of them. And then they got a weedless, weedless option there. It's got the little wired guards on it. Personally, I don't like the wired guards. You're gonna get hung up less, but you're gonna have less of a hookup ratio, in my opinion. Then when it comes to the line you want to throw on these, I like throwing a 10-pound test braid to a 10-pound test fluorocarbon leader. And then we're going to get to a demonstration of the Ned Rig here in just a minute.
Alright guys, so there's a couple more options here. There's plenty of stuff to lay out. You can throw anything on these things. I got plenty of robo worms laid out here. I'm not going to name particular kinds. Go get a robo worm, throw it on here. It's pretty easy. Something in particular that I had really good luck on was that robo worm with the chartreuse tail. These Z-Man ticklers were great. In past times I've thrown these rage swimmers. Doesn't matter what color, as long as they're big enough to fit on your hook. We're going to break down something as simple as putting it on the hook. Make sure you got it set up the right way so your worm's floating correctly. We got a little bit of water here. JK is going to break it down, show you how it's going to float in the water, how it's going to set, why these smallmouth are hitting them so easily. Why it's making them smash it. It's absolutely going to tear it up. If you're not creek fishing, this should make you absolutely go out and tear up some creeks and try it out to see what's biting. It could be anything from a bluegill, smallmouth. You could get some spotted bass. These baits are going to tear it up, and this is the way you need to go with it. If you don't have these Z-Man or these robo worms, get something like a grub. Go to Walmart, get some grub. Go get some, you can use probably a piece of live bait. Any way you rig it's going to work for these bass. They're very under pressured, very easily fishy fish there. But this is good stuff. This is good stuff here. This is the stuff that you should be using to attack these smallmouth, some of these smaller fish. If you want to take something home to eat, there's sunfish in these creeks too. But particularly we were going after smallmouth. This is good. The only thing I really need to mention about this is if you go out and buy these particular hooks, look for them, make sure they're not the smaller finesse hooks. I had 2 or 3 break my hook easily. They bent it backwards. They were 2-pounders easily, just bent it backwards easily. I even had some smaller ones bend it just a little bit. I still got them in. You have to look out for that. You still want to stay with a smaller profile, as in this guy and this guy, but you want to make sure they're not the light wire hooks that can bend. If I can bend it with my finger, that fish is going to bend it in a heartbeat, and these don't bend like that. I used a few to try them out, and they absolutely were terrible. That was the worst thing to do about it. The only critique to these robo worms is they're going to tear up quickly. You're going to be better off with the TRDs catching 3 or 4 fish. You can break these robo worms in half, so if you catch 1 fish on it, you can break them in half. That's the only good thing about it. We're going to get to our demonstration with JK now.
For the demonstration of the TRD, of the Ned Rig type bait, you can see that when the bait is setting properly, it's the head down, the tail sticking up, and it just sits there in front of the fish, and you cast it down there and it sinks down, and it sets right like that. Then you just work it, bounce it along the bottom. Obviously it's going to move around there, just set back up right. So it's just going to bounce around down there in front of those fish, and it just looks like such an easy meal for them. They can't help but eat it. A lot of times you get the smaller fish doing that because it's a small bait, smaller. And personally, I believe the smaller fish are a little bit faster than some of the bigger fish. But I also believe that if you wade through enough small fish, eventually you got a chance to connect with a decent sized fish.
All right, so there's a couple ways you can obviously work this thing. There's different presentations for every bait. That short pull like that's going to allow it to hop across the bottom. You won't hang it as many rocks like that. That is the best way, absolutely, across a rocky bottom to throw this bait. If it's any grass there, I don't suggest you throw this. You're going to throw something weedless. You're going to throw something completely diverse from this. As open as a hook this is, it's going to get hung up in grass. If you have a stream, there shouldn't be any grass growing in it anyways. You're going to want to look for smallmouth across rocky bottoms. If you do that short skip, it's going to hop across the bottom. Those smallmouth are going to chase it because it's something new to their area and they want to get it out of there. Or they're eating, one of the two. Both work, both catch fish. There's another really good way to do this if you're fishing across a loggy bottom. If there's a log jam, the best way I've known to throw across these things is a long pull. You're going to do a short long pull with this. You're going to pick up your rod and you're going to pull it up until it gets out of that friction, and you're going to let it drop down. As soon as it drops down, you should be hitting a bite because that worm's working so much differently. They're not used to that in the area. I've done both techniques work. It just depends on what you're casting over, a rock or a piece of wood. If you long pull over that piece of wood, it tends to give me more bites versus a bunch of bumps across the top of the wood. You don't really need to be on top of the wood. You need to be deep down. Other than the way you work this thing, the only thing I have to add to this is if you're walking a creek and there's not a deep part, you may catch a small fish, but you're going to want to look for those deeper pockets. That's really where your production of bigger fish is going to lead. It's been a learning experience for me. I've never done this stuff. JK introduced me to it, which is why I really wanted to talk about it because it's been an awesome experience. But those deeper pockets have really produced a bunch of big fish for me, and absolutely an exciting time, even for the small fish. These comparably 2-pound smallmouth fish would add up to, in my mind, and you'll probably agree, probably about a 4 to 6 pound bass. And in the fight wise, it's
they fight like hell.
Probably about the same fight wise. That's probably exactly what it adds up to. Even if you're watching TV, it's going to add. They compare a 6 pound bass to a 10 pound bass. That's a 4 pound jump. So if we're talking about catching a 2 pound bass or a smallmouth, we're talking about catching a 6 pound largemouth, which is an amazing fight either way. With lighter line, lighter equipment, make sure you got a small reel with a light rod, and you're good to go. That's the perfect setting for this stuff. You want to be able to feel everything. You got anything else to add?
If you're having a hard time getting a bite, whether you're in a creek, on a lake, pond, whatever, try the Ned Rig. It's guaranteed to catch you something. Maybe it's a bluegill, crappie, rock bass, spotted bass, smallmouth bass. I've caught just about every type of fish that swims in the lake, to include a catfish, on a Ned Rig. So they sell them at Walmart, anywhere you can buy bass fishing baits. Don't be afraid to give them a try. They're freaking awesome.
All right, guys, that should do it for today. Following this, we're going to have a few short clips of us catching some of those creek fish. And it should be an amazing video for you guys. I hope you can sit back and watch it. I hope you guys try this out. The following week from this, I've got a request to do some knot video. So we're gonna get knotty next week. We're gonna get into it and we're gonna tie some knots. We're gonna teach you guys how to tie these hooks on versus just teaching you how to put the baits on. This is gonna be a great episode. I hope you guys pick it up next week. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. For this time, this is WB Dynamite Fishing. Here's JK Bass Slayer. See y'all next time. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm walking toward the bank with him.
My bad, bud. I had a rod in my hand.
Oh, you're good. What do you think? 2.5?
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad my pond panned out. That's really cool.
He almost straightened this hook, let me tell you. That's right. I have a good in there. Oh yeah. Shit. Oh yes.
Ooh, girl. My line's been stressed out today. Don't do that to me. This fish ain't got no quit in them.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, bring that line to me. Oh God. Hell yeah.
There we go, sir.
I wasn't gonna let you miss him. I don't want you to feel like I was trying to